You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, a daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis, and we have a great conversation lined up for you guys today. Happy Memorial Day to everybody listening. Happy Memorial Day. We're here in the Clearview Today studio on this Memorial Day with Dr. Abadan Shah, our host, who is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, professor at Carolina University, author, full-time pastor, and the host of today's show. Dr. Shah, it's going to be a great week. Welcome to the studio.
Absolutely. And today we have a very special guest. I'm going to let you guys introduce him, and then I will share about how we met, and I've known about him and known about the organization he's with, but I'm really excited about today's show.
Absolutely.
More than I'm typically excited. So
It's going to be a great conversation. John, you want to introduce our guest?
Yes, absolutely. So today we are sitting down with Mr. Andy Roberson right here of Henderson, North Carolina, part of the American Legion. That is the largest veterans group in America. That is 1.6 million members, and one of those members is here with us today of our local chapter here in Henderson, North Carolina. Andy, welcome to the show.
Welcome to
Andy,
the show.
Andrew, how do you prefer to?
Andy.
Andy's good? Okay,
Yes,
sounds good.
Welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here. So honored to have you on the show today.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and I hope we can get something going about the American Legion, about veterans, and
Amen.
Memorial Day. That's
Amen.
the purpose.
absolutely.
Dr. Shaw, you want to share how we got to this point? How you guys met?
I think this might be
absolutely.
the quickest that you've ever gone from meeting someone to having them on the show.
Cool
Yeah,
story.
I think you hold the record for that.
That's the world record.
So Sandra Wilkerson, who is the head of our local chamber, she wanted to make a presentation to the American Legion Post 60, which is downtown Henderson. And she said, would you like to make that post? I know how much you care about the military, and would you care to do that? I said, I would be honored to. And I said, I'll be there if you want somebody else to do it. But I said, I'd be honored to do it. And she said, I would love for you to do it. And I said, that's quite amazing. So I came there and I talked to a couple of gentlemen I know over there. And then after the presentation, I had a chance to meet Mr. Roberson here. And we sort of hit it off. And he talked much about the show, about Clearview Today, and how much he enjoys it and how much he looks forward to it. And I thought about it. You know, we have Memorial Day coming up. What if we have you on the show, kind of tell your story, and you care a lot about veterans. We talked about that, and I do too. We have two in our family.
That's right.
Our oldest daughter is married to an Army, and our second one is married to a Marine.
That's right.
So they get along okay, though.
Yeah. Most of us do, but we love to ride each other.
That's right.
That's the impression that I got from those two.
Healthy jab.
Little healthy
picking,
ribbing, yeah. I don't know that anybody really ribs the Marines, though. I think the Marines are the ones that do most of the ribbing.
I don't think the Army stays on the Marines.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good to hear somebody's giving it back to them. Well, today's verse of the day is very fitting. It comes from John chapter 15 and verse 13. We all know these words. We love these words. These are Jesus' words. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends.
Wow.
Almost the perfect Memorial Day verse.
Absolutely. And, you know, I said something which was kind of spontaneous. I didn't plan on saying that, but I said, as I was making the presentation, that we are, in a sense, standing on sacred ground.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, those veterans are not buried there, but those crosses, y'all do such a great job in putting those out there, represent all the ones who, from our community, who gave their lives in one of the wars.
That's right.
And would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Well, I really don't know how the idea came up with the crosses, but we had memorials down at the underpass with,
I remember that,
Yeah,
yes.
and they removed them, but we just wanted to honor the ones that have passed for Memorial Day, and one of the main things we try to make people understand is Memorial Day is not the Veterans
That's
Day.
right.
That's right.
There's a
That's
difference
It's
there.
two separate things, and so we want to honor the ones that gave their life, that fought, and that's our purpose of putting the crosses out, to let people know. And I wish more people would come by and see them and
Right.
read the names. It's real humble to stand there and just read the names of the people that have passed.
Right.
And my thing is, even at Washington, at Arlington, all to stand out and thinking about what they went through, how some of them died. Some of them died instantly. Some of them suffered terrible.
Wow.
That's true.
Some of them on the battlefield for a couple of days with no treatments, knowing they were going to die. All that, that's kind of where my heart is.
Yeah.
To stand there.
Humbling is a great way to put that. I mean, there's a weight to it when you think about
Right.
what was lost. When you think about how those men and women suffered and gave their lives so that we could be here today doing this. I mean, that's powerful.
One of the most humbling experiences I ever had was with Dr. Shah. Actually, in 2017, we went to Arlington.
We filmed there.
We went and we were doing a filming project in D.C. and it was one day. We had a permit for one day, so we had to go to as many places as we could. And I remember it was going on the end of the day, and Dr. Shah said, "I want to go to Arlington." And I was young, so I wasn't gonna say it, but I was like, "Man, it's getting late, man. It's getting like our permit's gonna expire. It's on the other side of the mall." But I was like, "Okay, let's go to Arlington." And man, I'm so glad we did, because the weight, and it's not a weight like a heaviness, not like a burdensome weight, but there's a gravity to that place, if that makes sense, in Arlington Cemetery.
Yeah, if we temporarily forget, each of those crosses represent a life.
That's right.
That's right.
Somebody's father, son, brother, uncle, grandfather. I mean, it represents a life. And even women who gave their lives. So it's you stand there and you have to stop. I think sometimes we just kind of rushing through because we got to get to the next destination.
Yep.
But I wish you could just spend a day and just walk around there and just take it in, and then go by the tomb of the unknown soldier there too. So that's all inspiring.
Have you ever been to Arlington?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, my first trip there, I got to ride a motorcycle through there.
Okay.
With Run for the Wall.
Yeah.
Because of they let the rookies, when you first ride, go your first year on Run for the Wall.
That's awesome.
They allow us to ride through with motorcycles once a year, and it's the only people that ever get to do it.
Wow.
That's an honor.
That is huge
that
honor.
was an honor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you want to talk for a little bit about your time? I know you're a veteran as well. Talk for a little bit about your time in the service and why this is so important to you.
Well, I told him before, I hate to talk about my service myself.
But let's put it this way: you're talking for a lot of others who may not be able to talk.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I guess one of the things is that, I was wounded a couple of times, spent several months in the hospital, and I could have been on under one of those crosses very close, So I guess it took me a long time to get to where I accepted the fact that, and I got involved with a lot of military groups, and Military Oil, the Purple Heart was one of them, and being involved and finding out, I didn't realize what I needed, and as far as dealing with my history in the military, but that just kind of became a passion to me after I realized what I was getting after I received help, and how many I know out there that does not receive the help they need.
Right.
A lot of veterans, Iraq and Afghanistan too, they need help and they don't realize it.
Right.
So my goal was to start trying to find people that I could help.
How old were you when you were wounded?
20.
20 years
Wow.
old. And you were wounded in Vietnam. I'm guessing treated in the hospital in Vietnam, in a military hospital there? Or a
I was
military
wounded
medical?
twice, actually. The first time in the hospital in July with the Marical Division for about 10 days. The next time I was wounded, I was in the hospital in the 91st Evac, and I was sent to Japan for a couple of weeks. And then I was sent to Portsmouth Naval Hospital for about 3 months.
Sent to Japan during the Vietnam War?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So, coming out of that experience, how long did it take you? How long did it take you from being wounded and going to all these different places until the war was actually over and you were brought back home?
I was wounded in 1970, and then I came home in 71 to the Naval Hospital.
So once you were wounded, did you see combat again?
The first time I did,
time,
I
yes.
went back out. The second time,
Okay.
they sent me home because my time was going to run out, my tour,
Right.
with injuries. I wouldn't have had time to go back, really wouldn't. A couple of months would have been about it.
What did life look like after you came home in post Vietnam War?
Well,
Like for you specifically, I mean.
for me, it was over. Once I got out of the military, Vietnam military service was behind me, and I didn't I didn't have anything to do with anybody in the military, basically. And my friends too. I had a lot of friends went, and we just didn't deal with it.
Yeah.
We just put it behind us.
Right.
Went on with life. Trying to make a living and families.
Dr. Shah, in your counseling ministry, in your counseling profession, do you see that kind of response a lot?
Well, I'm not a counselor. I
Right.
kind of specified that. I'll sit and talk with you. How about that?
There you go.
So a lot of veterans have come to me over the years, and it's not like they have issues to deal with, but it's just struggles.
Yeah.
They've either seen things or they have struggled with something, readjusting back into civilian life. That's been the biggest one. As to how you go from living in that environment to all of a sudden now you're around and PTSD kicks in when you least expect. You think, man, I'm good, and then all of a sudden, what is this? Where is this anxiety coming from? Why is my heartbeat
Right.
going out of control, and feeling helpless and feeling frustrated? And they want to connect. And I think maybe Mr. Roberson and I can talk about this, because we talked about this yesterday. Maybe he can talk about it now. Trying to get more veterans to come together and talk. I think there's so much that they understand that an average person, even like me, who's not been in military service, cannot. Am I right on that?
Yes,
Would you
sir.
say? Yeah.
That's right. I've always said, people that served in the military, it's a bond. It's something there.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, people love motorcycles.
Right.
It's a bond.
Yeah,
People that love horses, it's a bond.
Right.
But the military is a large, organization.
Sure.
But,
Of course.
and it's a lot of them out there need that connection, but they don't have a lot of friends, and they'll talk about things that they wouldn't talk to normally.
Right.
To to somebody like
Right.
maybe come to you.
Well,
help,
when
but-
they come to me, it's more. I'm kind of an authority figure, so they feel like, hey, I can talk to you, and I know you're going to keep my confidence, and you're not going to talk, out of both sides of your mouth. You're going to tell me like it is. They want to hear it like it is. But I also feel there is a gap there where I cannot connect with them as to, I remember when we were here or there, or when I see my two son-in-laws talk, everything is abbreviated.
Right.
Everything is
there's a shorthand. Yes,
I
of
have
course.
to ask us, like, so what does that mean?
Yeah.
So what does that mean? And then they were like, oh, that means this and this. But they both know it. And one is Army, another is Marine. But they both know it.
Yeah.
So that's where I always felt like, man, if they only had a brotherhood,
That's
get other guys in the church or in the community to connect.
Yeah.
Man, that would be a missing link.
Oh, right.
shared experience, and I think that's a beautiful, place to kind of find that middle ground of offering a pastoral perspective, being
yes.
able to talk with somebody and go to somebody who is an authority figure, but also have that sense of connection, the people who
Yeah.
can literally speak the same language and have that shared experience. What do you guys find would be the benefit of that middle ground of offering, an approach that encompasses both a pastoral approach and also a peer-to-peer connection?
One of the things you mentioned yesterday, I would love to radio audience, whether it's in the Henderson Vance community or the large. I mean, we go all over the world.
Yeah.
this show will
show
be
is
heard all
global,
over the world.
yes.
What would you shared a little bit about some place in our own state of North Carolina where they're doing something that's really you thought was beneficial.
Yeah. I found it on Facebook, and I was aiming to look it up again. This Marine opened a restaurant, him and his wife, and he carried some of his military stuff with him, put it on the walls, and people started coming in, and other veterans talking to him, and he decided to get part of his restaurant as a meeting place for veterans that
Wow.
just want to come in and have lunch, sit around and talk. And then he let them start bringing in some of their memorabilia and stuff, and it turned into a major thing for his restaurant. And it got so big in his area, he decided to open another restaurant in another town.
Wow.
And do the same thing. And I wish I could find it. I probably could if you put enough in, but it's really helped a lot of veterans. He was talking about how a lot of veterans didn't want to go out to eat, didn't want to be with people.
Right.
They just wanted to be alone. They wanted to have a meal, but this opened them up
Absolutely.
to help. And talking to them and talking to another veteran, it helps. It gets kind of tough sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
It's and that's what I didn't realize. I was telling them for about 40 years that I should have been doing that the whole time, and I just didn't do it. And it put a passion on my heart to find other veterans that I knew it would help to be in that group. And it would be great to be able to do that, even just not have a meeting place. A lot of people still, veterans too, they don't want to meet.
Right.
They don't want to be in an organization where they got to do things.
So how does that work with the American Legion? Is the American Legion attempting to combat, in a certain sense, that mindset?
Well, I've talked to the commander of Hartwell Wright. He's the commander. We've talked about it a few times, and it's a young lady. She has a breakfast the first Saturday of every month at the Legion. And I shouldn't be talking about it. I can't remember her name. And I haven't been able to go. I'm always tied up on Saturday, it seems like.
Right.
But she started that. Just come in, have a cup of coffee, have some donuts, have a biscuit, and sit and talk. And it's not really got off the ground, but I think it's because people think they got to join the American Legion if they do.
Well, that's exactly what that was my follow-up question. Is the American Legion, hey, we're veterans trying to help other veterans, or are we trying to get veterans to join the Legion?
Probably both. Okay. But the main thing is help veterans.
Gotcha.
That's, we tell them you can come to a meeting. If you want to join, that's fine. We'd love to have you, but if you come to a meeting, you'll find out we're here to help you no matter what you need, whether you join. It doesn't make any difference to us as far as helping you.
That's right.
Dr. Shah, in your experience, have you seen veterans who have taken advantage of some of these initiatives, maybe from the American Legion or otherwise, and benefited from that sense of connection and sense of belonging?
Oh yeah, I've seen that happen in our Clearview Church. We have a small group that we're going to be starting dedicated towards just veterans coming together, and we're in the process of doing that because they have a life. They have work and they have children, and so it's kind of hard sometimes. Just like your Saturdays are taken up, but we're trying to get that going. But I see how they connect just in the audience. I can see how quickly they gravitate towards each other and they talk. So they need spiritual guidance. You cannot go without that. I mean, you got to have God in your life. You got to have Christ in your life. But when you have others that you can talk with, that talking it out is underestimated.
That's true.
Just sitting there and talking about the struggles you went through, or something small, you thought it's not a big deal, but it may be something that's been hurting your thinking and your ability to get back in society. Especially the younger ones. I think you said something about Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue.
It's tough to get them involved, but we understand they are trying to make a living. They have kids. They have involved in sports and hopefully church, and but they just don't have the time. People like our age or my age that's retired, and to do that. But any way we can get them in, anything we can draw them in, and no matter where they served, when they served. It just to be able to say something about the service, you can see where it makes a difference.
Yes, of course.
A lot. I actually ran into a guy on that run for the wall, and he was thanking me for my service, and his wife said, "Well, he served in the 50s." He said, "I didn't serve during any conflicts. It was after Korea and before Vietnam, so I'm not a real Army person." I said, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, of course
you served. What would have happened to this country if we had the military the whole time?
That's right.
And she said he actually, two guys talked ugly to him because he had an Army hat on, and he threw his Army hat away.
Oh, no.
He wouldn't wear it. And I said, I said, ma'am, if I give you the money, will you go find him an army hat? I would give. I said, if I had one, I would give it to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he teared up, and he said, after I talked to him, he said, I'm gonna get me another hat.
Yeah, there you go.
I said, don't let nobody tell you nothing. That's the
Right.
Where would this country be without the military? National Guard, Army Reserves, Marine Reserves, everybody.
So people speaking ignorantly to someone who defended their right to speak.
That's
in
right.
the first place.
That's right.
Yeah.
You were talking to us a little bit before we started recording about one of the coolest ministries and one of the coolest events that I had never heard of.
Yeah.
That was the Run for the Wall. Do you want to and you've mentioned it a couple of times. Do you want to just tell our audience what Run for the Wall is?
Run for the Wall is an organization that it was started in 1982. The guy had a passion for the POW/MIAs. And, it was a lot of them then. So he started bringing awareness. He wanted to bring awareness to it. And I need to look him up, to look up Run for the Wall. It'll tell you all about who started it and all. I've actually met him, but I'm not thinking.
Yeah, that's okay.
You're fine.
If you can edit
Especially when you have cameras pointed at you, it's hard to. Your memory shuts down.
Yeah.
But he wanted to bring awareness for the POW/MIA, so him and a few people decided to ride from L.A. to D.C.
Wow.
And be in D.C. on Memorial Day.
All on motorcycles.
All on motorcycles.
Wow.
And it's turned into a major event that, like I was telling you, three legs come across the United States, one in the southern route, the midway route, and the central route. And it's anywhere from 350 to 500 motorcycles on each route. Probably more than that, when it all ends up, because people can ride a couple days. You go through their state, they can hook up a couple days. But that's where it started, and it turned into a big event.
That's incredible.
Come across, and they end up, like I said, in Washington, D.C. and do the Memorial Day.
Wow.
And they started Rolling Thunder started a thing on Memorial Day. It's like 400,000 motorcycles.
Wow.
How long does it take to get from L.A. to D.C.?
It's 10 days. They leave on Wednesday. They get there on Friday.
Now here's the big question: is Dr. Shah, are you ready to dust off your motorcycle riding skills? Because I know back in the day you had one.
Right? Yeah, I did. No, I'm not ready for that.
Not ready for that. Not ready for the 10-day trek across.
Well, there needs to be more respect for motorcycles in America. Sometimes some people they just don't show it. They try to get around the guy, or they'll. I'm like, show him some respect,
especially
or whoever it is.
Yeah, and especially when they're riding in those huge caravans. You never know, man. It could be an event just like that. They're out right now, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yeah, traveling today.
Incredible.
We ran through the rain, tornadoes. It's nonstop.
I bet.
Wow.
They don't stop for anything.
That's incredible.
It's just, but it's amazing how they got it organized. It's when we leave L.A., was telling them that somebody is feeding us, American Legion, VFW, churches. We stop for lunch, and meal is free. You stop for dinner at night, the meals are free. People have actually paid for all the gas.
That's amazing.
From
That's
L.A.
incredible.
to D.C. for hundreds of motorcycles, trucks, pickup trucks, and stuff that we use on the route. I did it 5 years, and then COVID kind of put a stop to it, and then wear and tear on me.
Did you ride a motorcycle or you drove your
No,
truck?
I drove the truck.
Gotcha.
I've got a motorcycle. I've been trying to sell it, but it was just too much for me coming across there.
I understand.
A lot. 10 days of nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine seeing the country. Now we've done cross country with our children when they were young. Back in 2009, we took a trip from here all the way to Arizona. We should have kept going, but we didn't have time. And man, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country.
So pretty.
That sounds like something I would love to do at least once in my life. Maybe once, and then say I've done it. And then,
But come across on the run for the wall.
Yeah, with all the motorcycles and stuff.
No, I can hook you up.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
People who know that.
That's true. That's true.
And if you don't want to ride a bike, you can drive one of the chase trucks, we call it.
There
Oh
you
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we got about 6 minutes left in the show. There's people listening all over the East Coast right now, and then once this goes on pray.com, I mean, they'll be listening globally. No pressure at all.
Yeah.
But maybe Dr. Shah, we could start with you, and then Andy, we could go to you. What encouragement would you give people? Right, it's Memorial Day. We're taking the time. We're being intentional about taking this time to remember those who have fallen. What encouragement do you have for people?
A couple of things I would say. Don't forget that freedom is not free. I know it's become like a cliche now, but it is really true. For one, someone like me, I said yesterday at the Legion, I came from overseas. So I feel a sense of gratitude because somebody else paid for me to be here, right? I came, and so I always, every time I see someone in a military uniform, I always thank them, or if they have a hat on, or veteran's hat, I always thank them. But on Memorial Day, take a moment and talk about those who gave the ultimate sacrifice.
That's right.
Right? Secondly, what Mr. Roberson was talking about, possibly doing a breakfast here where we can get our veterans together. David, our engineer, just found that picture. I don't know if this is the one or not. We're not quite sure, but this is in Conroe, Montgomery County. I don't know if this is the one that you were referring to, but there's something they do over here in downtown Conroe.
Yeah, where they're feeding the Marines.
Yeah. So anyways, I would love for something like that to start it here in our community.
Yeah, of course.
We have places, we have restaurants. And if you're interested, maybe contact us. We'll contact you or contact you directly or contact American Legion Post 60.
Yes, that's right.
And let them know.
Yeah, anything you can do, it would be great. And like I said, it could be a lunch. You know, you just if we had a restaurant with a section just where veterans could go in, they know this is going to be up my corner and put stuff, let them sit and talk. And, but and there's some around here would probably be able to do it.
Absolutely.
And it's just hard, like the breakfast at the Legion. Sometimes it's only 5 or 6 people there on Saturday mornings. And it's a restaurant would be a little different, I think.
Right.
Sure.
And people need it. Veterans do need that. You know, I see them every day. You know, I go to a restaurant here in the mornings especially, and I've met a lot of veterans there. We've got members from being there. We've got some came and just decided they didn't want to join.
Right.
But they love to talk to you when they see you and talk about the service and stuff.
Of course.
You know,
Fantastic.
If something like that could be done, it would. I would really like it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we'll definitely talk more about it and get something like that going. There's a good change happening in our country right now where recruiting has gone up, which is to me it's wonderful to see that men and women are joining the armed forces and willing to go and stand for our country. So I'm very excited about that. And so if we can help our veterans in the community, that would be another plus.
Yes.
It will bring a sense of unity in our community.
Support those who have stood beside us and give them opportunities to facilitate that connection, just like we've talked about, and foster that sense of community and brotherhood.
And if you're listening to this right now, even if you're not in our local chapter of the American Legion, wherever you are, we're gonna put a link to the American Legion in the comments, in the show notes of this video, so you guys can donate, you can support, you can do however you want, because there's people out there, I think, who are going to hear this and feel led to give, feel led to support, even feel led to pray. So we're going to provide that link for you guys so you can do that. And thank you for your support.
That's right. Mr. Roberson, thank you so much for being on the show today, and thank you for your service.
Amen.
We actually said that at
sir.
the top of the show.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Guys, such a great episode. Make sure you join us tomorrow, same time, same station. We're going to be diving into another great topic here on the Clearview Today Show. Thanks again to our sponsors for making today's episode possible. And don't forget that you can support us on iTunes by subscribing to the show, or you can always support us financially at clearviewtodayshow.com. John, what are you going to leave the listeners with today?
Definitely want to connect you guys with Pray.com. That is the app that all of our exclusive content is on. You can follow Dr. Shah and all of his work on Pray.com exclusively. Make sure to follow. I think we're about to cross 5,000 followers. Want to get that number up as much as we possibly can. Thank you to all of you guys who are giving and donating to the show on Pray.com. You can also do that at clearviewbc.org/give. It's because of your gifts and your contributions that we're able to make this show and provide all of this wisdom and all of this encouragement to the people who need to hear the voice of Jesus Christ.
That's right. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.